Ever wondered why some startups succeed while others fail? In the world of innovation and entrepreneurship, this question is more relevant than ever. Startups are the lifeblood of our economy, birthing new ideas and solutions, and yet many stumble at the first hurdle. What separates the winners from the rest? The key may lie in a book, Lean Startup by Eric Ries. The answer to this question lies within the book, Lean Startup by Eric Ries. But what exactly is Lean Startup? Well, it's an innovative approach to business, first introduced by Eric Ries in his groundbreaking book, Lean Startup. The central premise of the book is that startups can dramatically reduce their product development cycles by adopting a methodology that hinges on business hypothesis-driven experimentation, coupled with iterative product releases. The Lean Startup method is named after the lean manufacturing revolution developed at Toyota. This approach views a startup not just as a small version of a large company, but as an organization designed to search for a repeatable and scalable business model. Eric Ries paints a clear picture of how startups can operate more efficiently and effectively by applying lean principles to the entrepreneurial process. He advocates for a shift in perspective, from viewing startups as small businesses to viewing them as experiments within the market. The book encourages entrepreneurs to test their vision continuously, to adapt and adjust before it's too late. It's all about validated learning, a system that allows you to test your ideas against the market in real time. Ries emphasizes that startups should not engage in months or even years of developing a product without showing it to potential customers. If they do, they risk finding out that the market doesn't want the product after investing considerable time and resources. Instead, he suggests that entrepreneurs should develop a minimum viable product, a version of the product that enables a full turn of the build, measure, learn loop with minimum effort and the least amount of development time. Ries argues that this strategy is a more efficient and effective way to find out whether a business hypothesis is correct. It enables startups to get their product to customers faster, to test the waters, and to adapt based on feedback, thereby reducing waste and increasing value. In essence, the Lean Startup methodology is not about being cheap, but being less wasteful and still doing things that are big. It's about testing the vision continuously and adapting and adjusting before any serious damage is done. The Lean Startup methodology aims to eliminate wasteful practices and increase value-producing practices during the earliest stages of a company. Now, let's dive into the core principles of the Lean Startup methodology. There are 5 key principles that form the heart of this approach. The first one is the idea that entrepreneurs are everywhere. This principle challenges the stereotype that entrepreneurs are only found in garages or Silicon Valleys. In truth, anyone with a vision and willingness to challenge the status quo can be an entrepreneur. It's less about where you are and more about what you're willing to do. The second principle is that entrepreneurship is management. This might sound a little counterintuitive. After all, isn't entrepreneurship all about breaking free from traditional management? Well, yes and no. While entrepreneurship does require a certain level of rule breaking, it also requires discipline, structure, and strategy. It's about managing a startup in a volatile business environment. Moving on, our third principle is validated learning. This is the idea that startups should measure their progress by how much they've learned that is validated by customers. It's not about vanity metrics like how many hours you work or how many features your product has. It's about learning what works and what doesn't, and then applying those lessons. The fourth principle is the build, measure, learn loop. It's a continuous process that involves building a minimum viable product, or MVP, measuring how customers respond, learning from that data, and then using that knowledge to decide what to do next. It's a cycle of constant learning and improvement. And finally, we have the principle of innovation accounting. This is a way of measuring progress in a startup where traditional metrics might not apply. It involves setting up a process to measure whether the product is meeting the customer's needs and whether the efforts to improve the product are leading to better results. These principles form the backbone of the Lean Startup approach and guide startups towards success. One of the central ideas of Lean Startup is the build, measure, learn loop. But what does it entail? Well, think of it as a 3-step dance that startups do to find their footing in the market. It's a cycle that repeats itself until the product reaches perfection, or close to it. The first step of the dance is build, At this stage, you're not constructing a full-fledged product, but rather a minimal viable product, or MVP for short. An MVP is a version of your product that has just enough features to be usable by early customers. It's like a skeleton of your dream product, but it serves its purpose. It's the easiest way to start the learning process without burning through resources. Next, we move to measure. Once your MVP is out in the wild, you need to gather data. You need to understand how your product is performing in the market, how customers are interacting with it. Are they using it the way you envisioned? Are there any unexpected roadblocks they're encountering? And here's where it gets interesting. The data you collect isn't just numbers on a spreadsheet, it's a story about your product's journey. It's about how your product is fitting or misfitting into people's lives. It's about the problems it's solving and the ones it might be creating. Finally, we get to learn. This is the stage where you take the story you've gathered and you learn from it. You analyze the data, you find patterns, and you make decisions. Do you need to pivot, change your product in a significant way, or should you persevere with the current version, making only minor tweaks? The build, measure, learn loop is not a one-time ride. It's a continuous cycle that fuels the evolution of your product. It's about learning quickly, reducing uncertainty, and iterating your product based on real-world feedback. And that's the beauty of it. You're not taking wild guesses or making assumptions. You're making informed decisions based on what the market is telling you. The build, measure, learn loop is the engine that drives lean startup methodology. It's the key to turning your startup dreams into a successful reality. The lean startup also emphasizes the importance of validated learning and innovation accounting. Let's dive into these concepts. Validated learning, first and foremost, is a form of learning grounded in empirical data gathered from real customers. It's not about hunches or gut feelings. It's about tangible, measurable facts. It's about testing hypotheses in the real world, not in the safety of a boardroom. Imagine you're launching a new product. Instead of assuming what your customers want, you run experiments, you gather data, you analyze responses. This is the crux of validated learning. It's about gaining insights directly from your target market and then using those insights to steer your startup in the right direction. Now, let's shift gears to innovation accounting. This might sound a bit dry, but stick with me. In the world of startups, traditional metrics often fall short. In the early stages of a startup, sales, revenue, and profit margins are typically zero or close to it. So how do you measure progress? Enter innovation accounting. It's a way of evaluating progress when all the metrics typically used in an established company are effectively zero. It's about measuring the right things at the right time. It might be about tracking how many customers sign up for a trial, or how many users engage with a new feature. Innovation accounting allows you to track your startup's progress in a meaningful way. It helps you understand if you're moving in the right direction, or if you need to pivot. It's not about vanity metrics or feel-good numbers. It's about hard facts and actionable insights. In essence, validated learning and innovation accounting are about keeping your startup grounded in reality. They're about making informed decisions based on real data, not assumptions. They're about understanding what works, what doesn't, and why. Validated learning and innovation accounting are crucial tools for startups to assess their progress and make informed decisions. So, what can we take away from the lean startup? As we wrap up our exploration of the lean startup, let's take a moment to revisit the main points. The lean startup methodology, pioneered by Eric Ries, is more than just a business model. It's a philosophy that encourages startups to embrace a systematic scientific approach towards entrepreneurship, fostering agility and innovation. The core principles of the lean startup revolve around the idea of eliminating waste, creating value, and promoting a culture of learning. By focusing on what truly matters to the customer, startups can avoid investing time and resources into products or services that won't meet the market demand. Central to this methodology is the build, measure, learn loop. It's a continuous cycle of product development, customer feedback, and rapid iteration. This loop allows startups to test their assumptions, learn from their mistakes, and pivot quickly when necessary. The lean startup also places a high premium on validated learning and innovation accounting. By measuring progress, startups can make informed decisions, helping them steer away from potential pitfalls and towards success. In essence, the Lean Startup offers a comprehensive framework that can help startups navigate the often tumultuous waters of entrepreneurship. It's a philosophy that encourages continuous learning, nimble decision-making, and a relentless focus on customer value. The Lean Startup offers a scientific approach to managing startups and can be a game changer for entrepreneurs striving for success.